Hello students, welcome to today's session. So since many days many people are asking me to discuss the topic of chemical bonding, in that the topic of back bonding. So this is a very important topic of our plus one plus two syllabi. So I shall be discussing this back bonding concept with a help of one question which is coming in front of you. Just see into this particular question and try to figure out the answer of it. So I hope you people have tried this question by pausing this video. So this as regard to the topic of back bonding, if I talk of, this is a very interesting and important topic, and it may happen this video would go little in length while explaining this particular question. So I find this question to be very interesting because of the fact that it engages multiple things in the problem solving. So you have a feature of organic part also, you can see some organic moieties here, and you would also see some inorganic compounds, and this is also one of the inorganic compounds written at the last, and this is the organic part. And this in itself is engaging some top. This, if you want to do this particular question, you need to have a some aspect of, you should know chemical bonding, you also would know GOC, you also would know a bit of inorganic also. So and the features related with the bond angle, bond length, or stability. So multiple things are there in this in this problem while solving it, but majorly it would be engaging the concept of back bonding. So before I get on to the details of this particular question one by one, those who have not yet subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe so that you could get my latest video at the earliest. So let us go into the details of this particular question. The video may go a little in length. So first, let me explain what exactly is back bonding. This is beautiful word written here. Back bonding would happen only when already some sigma bond has been formed. This is first statement which you should know about it. That once a sigma bond is being formed, let's say if I say this p orbital and this pz, let's say we assume pz orbitals to be present on internuclear axis, and if in case this side, if you have some filled orbital, okay, if you have some filled orbital, on the other side you have some vacant orbital, some vacant orbital. So what does it happen? So as I said already, first sigma bond is being formed. Back bonding would come into picture once you have made the sigma bond, and now this can sideways overlap in such a way that the electron density of one, that is the filled orbital tend to make a sideways overlap with a vacant orbital. Now this style of bonding which we tend to say is a back bonding. Now the type of orbitals which can be engaged would be either, if you could say this is filled p orbital and it is sideways overlapping with vacant p orbital, then we tend to say it as to be p pi back bond. Or if this is a p orbital and the other, or let me take it like this is filled and this is the d orbital which is vacant, so it can give electron density like this, and vice versa it could also happen. So this here we can say p pi d pi. So any sort of bonding where you would engage a filled orbital which gives its electron density to a vacant orbital, that is what you call it as back bond. So what is the feature of a back bond? So back bonding, you would see majorly this would engage, one would be the donor element which would have filled orbital, and this would be, this we shall be saying it as a donor element, which majorly would be seen, this would majorly be a element of a second period, and that too, if I write it categorically here, it could be carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and fluorine. But I'm saying it is on the general terms, but at times it may also engage, sometimes it would also engages elements like chlorine, sulfur, phosphorus, etc. So majorly the element is of second period. Why I'm saying this, why the donor element, the filled orbital of donor element is of second period? that there is reason for that. I am explaining it in a minute's time. And the other, which would be having vacant orbital, and this vacant orbital either majorly would be p orbital or d orbital. This would be the major orbital which shall be receiving the electron density from the filled one, and this we say it has to be acceptor atom. And this acceptor atom or element, I would say, is generally the second period or third period or fourth period and so on. If you talk of third period, fourth period, fifth period elements onwards, you would see that these would have d orbitals. So make it a point, second period elements would not be having, would not be having d orbitals. That is d orbitals. So we never would see that there is any 2d orbitals. So this is not possible. So what the d orbitals, this d orbital engagement would come only when you engages elements of third period, fourth period and so on. They may have d orbitals available with them for doing some sort of a back bonding. I just have said why the second period is engaged. That is also very beautiful to understand. Now, if we conventionally would say some pi bond, so as I say that there is a pi bond formed between these two orbitals. Say, for example, this is one electron and there is a pi sideways overlapping has happened. So this pi bonding would happen only if there is already a sigma bond is formed. And what exactly would have happened? That first the sigma bond has been generated, and then these orbitals may get chance to do sideways overlap for a conventional pi bond. But if it is filled and the other one is vacant, we tend to say it as back bond. We tend to say it as back bonding. Now the matter of the fact is, if the sigma orbitals used in sigma bond are of the third, fourth or fifth period, then these orbitals which are used for sigma bond become longer, the internuclear distance become bigger. So one of these element would be the second period and other element could be if it is of second period, it would be more effective. Third period, the effectiveness of sideways overlap keep on decreasing. And if both are having third period or fourth period, then the sigma bond becomes longer. As a consequence, these orbital would not got a chance to do a sideways overlap. So conventionally, that is also a reason that conventionally the pi bonding doesn't happen with the orbitals of 4p 4p, something like that. As we move down the group, the extent of effectiveness of back bonding or pi bonding tend to decrease because of the mismatch in the orbitals, and as a consequence of that, that back bonding or conventional pi bonding would not be happening. So make it a point, as we move down the group, the extent of back bonding decreases. So here we have understood few things, that for back bonding to happen, there would be one donor element. Let me consolidate: one donor element, another would be one acceptor element. Acceptor element would have vacant orbitals and the donor element would have filled orbitals. Now let us go into the question. So first I shall be explaining the this is carbene. So we need to understand what exactly is carbene and this one. First I will take up these two in a way which would make you little interested in. Now see here. So so as is my style, while discussing you are able to see few more things. Few more related relevant topics I am passing along with it. Say for example, you are being given a chloroform, and into this chloroform if I happen to add OH negative and this snatches this H positive, so what shall I be getting? So I shall be getting water goes out and I would be getting something like this. So this is what you call it as carbonyl of chloroform, or carbonyl which we get on the deprotonation of this trihalo compound. Now if I would say that this would go out and this goes out as Cl negative, then you are left with a moiety which we call it as dichlorocarbene. This is called as dichlorocarbene. First I, because both of these are there in the question, this moiety is also being asked, which is having a negative charge. Sorry, I missed it. and this is a neutral electron deficient reaction intermediate, which we call it as dichlorocarbene. Now the first question they have asked is you need to compare the bond angle between these two. If I say this is dichlorocarbanion of dichlorocarbene and this is what you are being given with, and this is to be compared with the bond angle of fluorine if it had been fluorine. This is the first style of question they have asked. Now you have to compare the bond angle. Let me show it to you once again. So this is what is to be asked. That is the C option. C option is asking us about the bond angle which we shall be getting for this one. So let us explain that one. Now as regard to the bond angle, first you have to place in your mind that what I always suggest to you is that bond angle can simply be done with the fact that you have to see the electronegativity of central atom. First, if uh, or second can be the size of attaching size of attaching atoms to central atom. Now if these 2 points are to be followed, you would get to know the bond angle. But the matter of the fact here is that if the central atom and the atom which is attaching with it is engaging some sort of back bonding, then the above two factors would nullify. Above two factors would not show their predominance. If the central atom which is if the central atom to which the terminal atom is getting attached, it is not showing any sort of back bonding, then you can take these as to be the driving forces which would give you the result of bond angle. But if these 2 points are there but also there is a feeling of back bonding happening, then back bonding would be the determining factor and it would get dominance upon first 2 points. Let me explain what I am trying to say. Now if I consider the electronegativity of central atom, in both of these cases is same because both are carbon, and if I take the fluorine, as a matter of fact fluorine is more electron withdrawing as compared to the chlorine, so obviously we would say that the electron density around this carbon would be more in CCl3 negative. As a consequence, the electron density around a carbon would be more compared to CF3 negative. As a result, this bond angle would be greater. So here what we are able to see is that this electronegativity of central atom is also endorsing the fact that this bond angle would be greater. But at times you would see that if the central atom's electronegativity of the two moieties which are to be compared are different, then this at times would become different. So make it a point here, it is endorsing the fact that the electronegativity of central atom is same. So we are able to get the point that more is the electron density around the central atom, more would be the repulsion and bigger would be the bond angle. And it is also being endorsed by the bond back bonding also. How? Because this carbon and chlorine bond, this chlorine is having a vacant d orbital and this carbon has a filled orbital. So since it is having a filled orbital, so it can give its electron density back to the chlorine. So there is a feature that this can do a back bonding. Now as soon as it does start doing back bonding would make the system more planar and the bond angle tend to get increased, which would not be possible in case of this, because fluorine is also filled with electron density and carbon is also filled with electron density. So here the bond angle is this way. So this would be the answer to this question. Let me rephrase what I just have said. Is if I talk of this point is basically I am talking of electronegativity difference. If around the central atom there is electronegativity difference to a greater extent such that the central atom get more of electron density around it, then it may have a greater bond angle if it is not engaging in any sort of back bonding. But if there is engagement of back bonding, then you have to take back bonding as to be determining factor as compared to other aspects engaged in that bonding. Go on to the further question. In the further question, what is being asked, let me first check what they have given. So the bond angle here, this statement is wrong, and we have to find the right statement. Now other option which has a option is talking about carbene, so that is talking about the stability of this. So this again is a very important and interesting question which we are going to phrase it out. Now as regard to the carbene here, because I am not supposed to discuss details of the carbene, but only one thing I can share here is that carbene is a neutral electron deficient species, and it is reaction intermediate, and it is available in two forms. One form we call it as, if the two electrons are in the same orbital, then we say it has to be sp2 hybridized carbon. But the same carbene can also be, this is what you call it as singlet carbene, when two electrons are present in same orbital, singlet carbene. And the another one we call it as to be doublet carbene. In the doublet carbene, what you are able to see is that the two orbitals are having one electron, and this is sp hybridized. So if this is sp hybridized, it is somewhat linear, this is somewhat planar. Is it okay? So this is the viewpoint. So what he is asking, generally we tend to say that this is what you call it as triplet carbene. And triplet carbene of course would be more stable as compared to the singlet carbene, because the two electrons are present in separate orbitals. So the repulsions would be less and the stability would be more. Now what is being asked here is, you need to find the stability of singlet dichlorocarbene, and you have to figure it out which out of this is more stable. Now what we happen to say here is that this is chlorine, and there is a lone pair, or this is a singlet carbene, and this would be having vacant p orbital. And here you have fluorine, this is fluorine, and this also has the same sort of a feature, and this is trigonal planar type, or this is the geometry I have shown it to you. Now we have to identify the stability, and to get the stability out of here, we shall be saying it, we need to check what is happening. Now here what you are able to see is that this chlorine, this chlorine is having a filled p orbital, isn't it? This is having one filled p orbital. This fluorine also has a filled p orbital. So what would happen? There would be a back bonding. Here also there would be back bonding, and the name of this back bonding sorry, bonding would be, because this chlorine, and this is what you call it as, let me draw it once again for your convenience. So this is carbon, this is chlorine. Only difference would be, if I take this as carbon's orbitals and this is fluorine orbital, only the difference is the orbital of chlorine, p orbital of chlorine would be bigger in size as compared to that of fluorine. So here we can easily would see that this back bonding, the one here it is written p pi, this back bonding is more effective. Why is it more effective? Because the size difference is almost similar. Here it would not be that effective, so it would be less effective. Less effectiveness is because of the size difference, less effective due to size difference of orbitals. So we shall be saying this would be more stable. This would be more stable. If we just see the electronegativity difference, fluorine tend to withdraw electron density more, would increase the electron deficiency on carbon. And from that perspective, if you would see, it seems like that CF2 would be less stable, because fluorine is more electronegative and would create more electron deficiency on the central carbon compared to the chlorine. And some of you may not understand this viewpoint, that why I have taken this p orbital, simply because if I would show you the Lewis dot structure, these are the lone pairs which are present in the p orbital, which I pushed it here. So that is what we have done. So here let us see the answer for this question. So we just have proved that this also seems to be the wrong one. So we have proved that it would be reverse way because of the effectiveness of p pi back bonding. So let me once again write it here. It is engaging 2 pi. So and this is engaging 2 pi 3 pi. So effectiveness effectiveness of back bonding obviously would be greater for this one, and this would increase the stability. Now we are only left with two options. So as I said, the video may go little lengthy, and it's a heavy problem to discuss, because now you have to compare the bond angle of phosphine, that is pH3 versus PF3. Now how to go for it? So this is the which option it is the option number B, Bombay. Now here what we have to figure it out is that first I would draw the Lewis-Dot structure. I am able to see this is pyramidal in shape, or Lewis-Dot structure seems like this one, and this is fluorine. So only difference is now what basically you would see, that if you would see again the electronegativity difference, if again I would say, because you have to check the bond angle. Now if in the bond angle I have to place it the points which we have just have shown in the earlier slide, that electronegativity difference of central atom with attaching atom, or attaching atom, this is the first point just I have written in terms of electronegativity of central atom. Electronegativity of central atom is same, but here fluorine is electron withdrawing. So what we able to see, that here the electron density on phosphorus would be more. So it seems like if I consider the first point as to the driving force for this, the bond angle expected would be this one. Why? Because the more here because the phosphorus is more electronegative, so the electron density is more. But as a matter of fact, the order is reverse, because it is going to engage back bonding. Now which part is going to engage back bonding is this one. This one is going to engage back bonding. Why? Because the phosphorus is having a orbital which is filled, and sorry, just hold on, phosphorus is having vacant d orbital, and fluorine is having filled p orbital. And where is the filled p orbital of fluorine? This can be shown by these dots. These are present in filled p orbital, so this can give electron density back to the phosphorus vacant d orbital. As a result, what you would get is, it is a sort of 3d pi versus 2 pi back bonding. So this is a type of back bonding which tend to create a planarity in pf bond, and as a consequence we shall be saying that the bond, because of this back bonding, this tend to make the system more towards the planarity as a consequence of it, because this is having a vacant d orbital and this is having a filled p orbital. So this can give its electron density back. As a consequence, this would become planar. So here the answer happens to come out to be pf3 is having greater bond angle as compared to that of, and if I just would write, it is almost right, 93.8, and this is 97.8, almost. You need to once cross check it with the NCRT also, it is there. Now the point is that, is this option correct or not? Let me check this out, what they have given. So we find that pf3 would have greater bond angle, so this also is a wrong statement. So we have proved that three statements are incorrect, so the D would be the answer. Let me discuss that also. That is also very interesting question to uh, talk about. Now what is very interesting in that one is that this is this moiety, methyl isothiocyanate, and this carbon is being replaced by silicon. This is basically this one. So here what you have to see, they have said that you have to find the bond angle around nitrogen, and you, in all of these questions, generally people would not ask you the exact values, they would ask you the conceptual viewpoint, that how do you see the bond angle. So here you have a lone pair, here you also have a lone pair. So this nitrogen is, here is sp2 hybridized, or and here also it is sp2 hybridized. Now what basically we are going to say, silicon is having, as simple as that, silicon is having vacant d orbital, nitrogen is filled with p orbital, filled electron density, so it can give its electron density back to the silicon. As a viewpoint, as a reason of that, Because of this back bonding engagement, this tend to become little more planar, or because of that reason we tend to say it as being taken as to be almost linear, very close to 180-degree angle. Here what you would see, the bond angle would not be that, because if I consider this as to be planar, so there is a lone pair, this is not showing any back bonding, so this bond angle would not be linear, so it is almost, you would say it is a planar type of a species where the bond angle. Now interesting question. So first let me finish what the answer would be. If I consider the bond angle around nitrogen, this is this way, so this would have a greater bond angle. Let me check whether they have written it right or wrong. So yes, here they have written it right. So this would be the right answer. So this is a heavy question and would engage lot many things, but while discussing this particular problem, you are able to see lot many aspects of the things, because many of students have asked me that they are not able to understand back bonding from the problem solving point of view. Another important question you would be asked, you can be asked, which just clicked me, that if you talk of this particular bond angle, because the trigonal planar bond angle is 120, so here you have a lone pair, so lone pair bond pair repulsions would be greater, so this tend to decrease from 120 a bit. But in, as a matter of fact, you would see, if we see some book who is going to endorse this from the viewpoint that how much bond angle do you have, actually here is almost 143. This also is a very beautiful question to take up here, that we expected that if it is having a lone pair and you have a trigonal planar type of a thing, this angle should be close to 120 or little less than 120, because of the lone pair bond pair repulsions greater than bond pair. But what you happen to see in this methyl isothiocyanate, and same viewpoint you would also see in methyl thiocyanate, the bond angle happens to become greater than that of 120, which actually we would not be expecting with. So the reason for that here is, this is very interesting to tell you, where now we shall be saying it like this. Here what you would see here is that if I consider this as the point of discussion, this nitrogen is sp2 hybridized, but if I do the resonance part here, what I shall be getting I shall be getting nitrogen triple bond C single bond, and sulfur would get a negative charge, and here this would become positive. Now what you would see, that this carbon has become what, sp hybridized, and if it is sp hybridized, it tend to become 180. And and another thing, if I do the resonance this way, this is beautiful, if I do the resonance this way, what I shall be getting here, I shall be getting somewhat like this, CH3n double bond n dot, this become negative carbon, and now sulfur would become positive if I if I do the resonance with the orange marker. So now this has become sp3 and if it is sp3, it would be tetrahedral, so it would be amalgamation of all these three, and that would be a resonance hybrid. And this resonance hybrid has have a value which is a jumbling of all these structures and results in the formation of a bond angle which is almost 143. And that also created another beautiful question, that which among these three resonating structure, if I mark it 1 2 3, just write it on the chat box, which of these and what would be the order of stabilities of these three resonating structure. The simplest of all I can tell you is the first one, because it would not be having any charge separation. Now for 2 and 3 you have to tell me that what would be the stability order. So this also is a very interesting viewpoint here to discuss with. So I hope the viewpoint of back bonding is a bit clear to you all. So thanks a lot and stay connected, and if you have some queries or something like that, do pass it to me. I would try to make a video on that particular questions, so that you can do good in your upcoming exams. Thanks a lot, stay connected, bye bye. And if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, do subscribe. It would a sort of a sort of driving force for me to make such videos, and I feel motivated with your comments and appreciations. Thank you. Thanks a lot.